Hello and welcome to what's in this week's Oban Times with me, Finn Nixon.
Me, Kathy Griffiths.
And me, Sandy Neal.
Well, what do we have for you this week in the Oban Times? There's lots of news and photographs for you, as always, in the newspaper and at www.obantimes.co.uk. And remember that we would love to hear your stories and see your photographs. You can call us on 01 631 568 000, email editor@obantimes.co.uk, or drop us a message on Facebook, Instagram or X. Kathy, what stories have you been finding out about this week?
Well, recruitment challenges could extract one of Argyle's longest established dental practices from Oban. Shaw Street Surgery says it's been hit by the acute shortage of dentists and is now considering closing. A final decision hasn't been made yet and all options are being reviewed, and they did say they'll tell patients as soon as they have any more news. But if the Shaw Street Surgery shuts, it'll leave only Oban Dental Care in Lockside in town, and there's already a waiting list there for new NHS patients. And we've been told that folks on that list are very unlikely to get any appointments until next summer. There is the dental service, the public dental service up at the hospital, but that's for people who need treatment in a specialist setting or for people who aren't registered with the NHS at any other dental practices but need emergency care. So that's important to note that. Over at the Oban's Rockfield Centre, so far they've sold 70% of the community bonds that they wanted to push so they can go ahead with exciting next stage plans. They've set themselves a deadline for the end of this month to sell £200,000 worth of bonds to pay for the developments that will include a sensory room, a recording studio, new outdoor performance area, and a scheme to turn the bike sheds into a traditional skills work hub. The total as of this week was standing at £140,000 worth sold. So there you go. If you want to find out more about that, you can go along to the Rockfield Centre. They've got a prospectus that you can pick up and have a look. They also had a bit of good news from the National Lottery Community Fund because they're going to give £6,000 towards that sensory room. So that's a great start. Also in this week's Oban Times, in paper and online, you can find out how an Oban boy ended up in the Arctic Circle. He's a man now, of course, producing award-winning whiskey and gin. You can see lots of photos from the marvellous Mull Mod. You can also find out what happened when a big baby on Mull finally flew the nest. So yeah, lots going on in this week's Oban Times. Finn, back to you.
Thank you very much, Kathy, and I look forward to reading about all those stories and seeing those marvellous photographs in the newspaper and on our website. What about you, Sandy? What do you have for us this week?
Well, thank you very much, Finn and Kathy. Plans for a cafe and play park in Connell have been recommended for refusal by council planners, despite more than 100 expressions of support from the public. You can find out more about that in the paper tomorrow. Kilcrennan's mothballed primary school is moving closer to closure after surveyed parents said they were happy to send their children 5 miles away to Tynalt. The population of the Western Isles had the largest fall in Scotland over the last decade, the latest census says. But what can be done about depopulation? We've got a few ideas. It's now safe for over 1,000 homes on Benbecula and South Uist to drink their tap water after a fuel leak into the pipes. You can read all about that in this week's paper too. Meanwhile, divers have done a belt and braces check on a high-risk lochen in Glencoe. And also, while we're in the area, it's your last chance to visit Glencoe Folk Museum before its £2 million revamp. Finn, back to you.
Thank you, Sandy, and it's been another busy week of Oban and Argyll sport action. Oban Camanachd suffered late Camanachd Cup final heartbreak after a thrilling game in Inverness on Saturday. We have a full report of the match and a roundup of all the other regional shinty action for you. Oban Lorne Rugby Club are also making their last preparations ahead of the inaugural Amateur World Cup that kicks off in France this weekend. Pick up an Oban Times to read a full preview and visit our Facebook page for a lowdown on the 30 players travelling across the English Channel to compete against other clubs from across the world. On Saturday, they will kick off their tournament against South Africa's Hamilton Sea Point at 10 a.m, so make sure to tune in for that. Back on home shores, Oban Lorne men enjoyed perfect preparation for the competition with a 9-try win. and the ladies' side toughed it out in a difficult encounter with Biggar. Elsewhere, Oban Saints marched on in the West of Scotland amateur football with an impressive win in the first round. Two teams of Rotarians contested the hotly anticipated annual Pairs Bowls competition final earlier this month, but who finished on top? Find out in this week's sports section. And as always, you can read more sport at www.obantimes.co.uk with an important update on Connell motorcycling ace John McPhee, who has joined a new team before this week's Tisset Aragon round in Spain. You can also pick up a newspaper in local shops and petrol stations to read all the stories we have been discussing. And if you have a story, get in touch. You can call us on 01 631 568 000, email editor@obantimes.co.uk, or message us on one of our social media platforms. For now though, thank you for listening, and it's goodbye from me, Finn Nixon.
Goodbye from me, Kathy Griffiths.
And goodbye from me, Sandy Neal.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.